I gotta tell you, I didn't see this coming. Here, let me readjust this. A little under a year ago, I made a video about the super sudden and, quite frankly, very much unexpected closure of Gameinformer, a very long time running video games journalism magazine that provided insights into the world of developing and reviews for games, all sorts of stuff. It had been around longer than I have been around. It's older than me, and I'm glad to report that as of today, at least in my case, they're fully back. Just as suddenly as they had disappeared, it had been announced a few months ago that they would be coming back, and in full force. All thanks to the efforts of a development studio I had never heard of called Gunzilla Games. They seemingly came out of nowhere in the 11th hour, and at the end of the day, saved Gameinformer from just being an archive forevermore. In my original video, I harped a lot on the negative aspects of this industry. One, that I would like to say once again, I am not on the inside of by any stretch of the imagination. I have always been, and always will be, a fan, and there is no changing that. Nonetheless, though, it doesn't take an industry insider to see that shit is wrong. For me, that was sort of a last straw moment. I know everybody has a different moment of radicalization, for lack of a better term, but it was so unceremonious. And I always wondered if it was just as sudden for the folks at Gameinformer as it was for us readers. And unfortunately, shortly after I put that video out, I got my answer in the worst way possible. I had always kind of figured, as most people would, that of course it was just as abrupt for them. But I tell you, the confirmation I got couldn't have been in a more depressing way. You see, I did get my final copy very shortly after that video. The cover page being the casting of Frank Stone. And I didn't make it more than one page in. Seeing this just upset me so much. Gameinformer has been around since 1991. Keep us around for another 30 years. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that does not sound like the message that is put out by a company if they think they are about to be imminently wiped off the face of the fucking earth. Okay, that's a little bit dramatic, but they almost kind of were. Thankfully, due to the efforts of tons of brilliant fans, just about every single issue ever had been archived and preserved digitally. I also think at least one of every single issue physically was archived as well, but I digress on that point. In that video, I stated my immense, nearly irreparable displeasure at an industry that is fundamentally supported by artistic integrity. And I know that may sound weird, but the greatest games ever made were made because an idea was too strong to let go or to budge on an inch. That's not always the case, but in so many cases, the whole reason your favorite game came out the way it did is because somewhere along the line, someone in charge said, no, we're not going to do that. It has to be done this way. For crying out loud, the very first thing that comes to mind is Alan Wake 2. They wanted to cut what is now the most famous level in the entire game. I don't know who the hell thought they could cut that. Maybe it was Epic, maybe it was a higher up at Remedy themselves, but Sam had to fight to get that in the game. This is an industry that creates art. Long time ago, when Stop Killing Games began, Ross from Accursed Farms stated that it might be debatable that all video games are art, but it's undeniable that they all at least contain art. If at least a modicum of respect and integrity is put into that project, I think the whole thing is art. You ever heard of Blood and Bacon? Art. Bad Rats? Art. Doesn't have to be a fucking masterpiece to be considered art. And art doesn't always make you feel happy. It just needs to make you feel. Anyway, all of this was to say that in that video, I wasn't feeling too great about the future of the video games industry, and I was in that moment feeling even worse about video games journalism. We do have plenty of individual video makers and reviewers like SkillUp and Jake Baldino and other channels like Game Ranks that he works at, and it's great that those are there. I very much love that they are around. But then you hear about other companies like GameSpot having to lay off dozens or however many people they had to. And it just goes to show you that the old really struggles to keep up with the new in a lot of ways. And we need to remember that the old is still important. These guys, the people that have been working on this for over 30 some odd years, have a unique perspective that should not disappear. It shouldn't be retired until they want to retire it. And it was so unceremoniously scrapped away that their legacy, while not erased, for me came down to just this. Just this. Like I said, that question was answered in like the meanest way possible. I could not have felt worse for the people that mattered in that scenario, which was the employees of Gameinformer. But anyway, to get myself a little bit back on track here, they are back. And the reason I wanted to make this follow-up now is because I got the first of hopefully many, many, many magazines from Gameinformer to come. And I gotta say, I'm really excited. And not only are they back, we got an upgrade. This cover being for Borderlands 4, you could tell it's a very different printing style because you can see my greasy, disgusting fingerprints all over it. And the fact that I filmed this video like 4 times, 5 times now, just to make a little bit more sense. This is a monumental upgrade just from the feel, just from the look. I think it's a little bit longer. There aren't giant pages of advertising in here. This is fucking incredible. I've only leafed through it because I wanted to film this video, but if this is what we can expect going forward, thank God they were shut down before and saved by someone that gave a shit. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good at the moment. Definitely better than when I opened up this copy. It seems like there, for one reason or another, has been a little bit of movement going what I feel and what many other people feel is the correct direction. I think the last big shift people probably noticed was emulation being legalized, for crying out loud. I know you might not think they're comparable, but in my mind, this feels comparable. It was deserving of the savior it got, and it's deserving of our attention and time now. I may be a little bit jaded, I may not be holding my breath all that much for the future, but at the very least, I have a little bit of hope. Because you don't get stories like this anymore. At least not in this industry, you don't. You don't get old video game magazine was brought back from the dead and seemingly given enough money to upgrade their physical print to provide a full digital archive of every single past issue they've ever made. This shit just doesn't happen. So I want to take this win, and I wanted to share my enthusiasm for this win with you. Play well, be well, and I want to thank the folks at Gameinformer for not throwing in the towel and coming back stronger than ever.